Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
So I hope now you understand about API server. Okay. Now we have to understand second component, which is called cluster store. Okay. So please read this. Okay. So it states persistent storage. So cluster storage is a persistent storage, that means permanent storage. What it stored? It stored the cluster state and configuration file. Now this cluster store is powered by the tools which is called etcd. Yeah, etcd is one of sort of key and value based database. Now this is a distributed, this means etcd is a distributed, that means can be etcd itself can be a cluster actually. Yeah, etcd itself is a cluster, can be cluster. That is the meaning of distributed. Consistent and watchable, that means you can watch it from the any nodes, something like Elasticsearch cluster concept. This is a source of truth for the cluster. So when I say source of truth for cluster, that means, if I understood correctly, if any information about the cluster, if the cluster stores has it, that means that's a true. If its cluster store is not having, that means that does not exist at all, and you have to have a backup plan for it. So this is the cluster store. So now let's understand in a simple way. Okay, so here face, look at this here. Now open up this. And so this is the master of the body, master aka control plane. This is the master of the body. So here if I say API server which receive everything, so what can it can be? Now whatever you receive something, you store where? In your memory, right? Now let's say if something is not in your memory, that means that is not truth, which you don't know, correct? So it's like this. So you receive everything you receive and store. So here this is API server acting like API server. This is acting like a etcd cluster store. Okay. So guys, did you understand the role of cluster store? Guys, did you understand that? Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Now third component of the master is controller manager. See here guys, it says, read the keyword very carefully. It says controller manager, not only controller, it is a manager. So let's say my manager manages me and my colleagues also. So he manages 10 other people. So manager means of what? Controller manager. So basically here if you see cube controller manager. So controller manages what? Controller. Now what controller? What is controller? So before understanding what is controller, understand the type of controller. Like a node controller, endpoint controller, namespace controller. So here these controllers are doing, you know what? Controlling one thing. For example, there is a node controller which control whether node is in your host, in your cluster or not. So it always run in the loop. Controllers always runs in the loop, never stopped. Because the moment it stops, your Kubernetes cluster will not work. So there are different kind of controller, guys. Node controller which control the node, endpoint controller which control the endpoint, and keep updating to API server. Look at this here. Controller check and keep updating to API server. Arrow image. Okay. So what is the job of the controller? Job of the controller is to watches for the changes in the whole cluster, and it helps to maintain a desired state. Okay. So for example, how many nodes are there? Nodes are alive or not? How much CPU each node has? How many pod you have? How many containers you have? Everything it control through different controller. For each and everything, for one check, there is a one controller. So for the multiple check, of course you have a multiple controller. So if you have a multiple controller, there must be controller manager also to manage those controllers. So this is the third component, which is controller manager, which manages the controller. So now if you see that, if you're trying to replicate this your face, here what could be a controller manager? Any idea? Any idea? Guys, are you there? Hello? 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 Can you hear me, guys?
We are there.
Yeah, so please respond, because we all are connected through the online. Now if we are spending 5 days of our quality time with each other, so we have to respond to each other, right? Otherwise I'll keep talking, and if I do not get any response, how do I know whether people are out there or not, or they do have some questions or not, they understood or not? It's very difficult, right, in online sessions like this. So any idea what is a controller here in this phase? Controller manager. Which one? No, so that's the storage. That's the storage. Your controller manager is, see, the behavior, understand that. One controller, two controller. So one controller manager. See here. This controller manager watches for the changes around the world and update to etc. Correct? Are you able to correlate? Look at one more time, please. Third component is controller manager, such as node controller, endpoint controller, namespace controller, and blah blah blah. But what exactly is doing? Watches for the changes and helps to maintain a desired state. So watches for the changes and always update to the etcd. API server. Okay. So and through API server store this update to API server and this store to this one. Okay, so flow is like that, from here to here, here to here. Understand that ultimately this is a source of truth. Whatever you have in the memory, that's a source of truth, right? Understood this?
Yes.
Now guys, fourth component.
Where do these individual
Yeah, tell me.
hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, these individual controllers, node controller, endpoint controller, where does they come?
I'm talking about the master, sir. No, don't you think so? Okay. By the way, there's some echo is coming from your side, so probably you might have enabled the speaker or something like that. So use the headphone. That will be easier for all of us. Okay. So
No, no,
here,
not at all.
yeah. So here, this is the master. No, I think from your side echo is coming. Whatever I say, it's getting repeated. Maybe it's coming from the speaker or something. Okay, so this is the master, and I was talking about the master, right? So everything is a part of the master I was talking about. API server, etcd, cluster store, controller manager, which I was talking about now. Make sense?
Yeah. I understand that's in master, but you mentioned it's the other controllers, right? The endpoint controller, namespace controller. I just wanted to know where they lie or where they are
Everything,
located.
all this is software actually. Software. So it's there in the master machine only. Master. I'm explaining the functionality. Okay. Okay. Everything is application. Now guys, last one. Scheduler. Look at it very carefully, just read it. Okay. While troubleshooting this information, this knowledge is you needed most. If you think, okay, today I'll tell you in simple way. Today if you learn, you spend only the time whatever you are spending. If you do not learn or if you do not focus for same thing, you have to struggle at least a 1 week or 10 days if you get into the some problem. So it's like that. So whatever you want to learn today, please use focus, and same time you have a doubts, please ask me. Be with me, give me your 5 days, you will be in a very good condition after the 5 days in Kubernetes. Okay, else for that again you have to struggle. We have so much of materials in the internet, but again understanding is most important than just running the command, because I have seen many people, they are running the command but blindly. They have no idea about how they are behaving. Why did they run this command? I ask, why did you run this command? They said, like, I've been running from last 6 months. So that should not be the reason. You should know the root cause of it. So let's understand. Okay, so Kube Scheduler, Watchage API server for new pod. Now this is the fourth and last component, important component of master. Scheduler, see here what is doing. It watches API server for new pod. Assign work to the node. See here, this is the important. Assign work to the node. It's not doing the work, it assigning a node to work. And it has affinity and anti-affinity. What is the meaning of it? So it can assign a work to the node, any node, that is called anti-affinity. But sometime deployment engineers say no, do this pod only in this particular node. So that in that case is affinity. It also respect the constraint and resources also. Means CPU, RAM, storage, number of pods, this, that and all. So many things are there. So all this thing is been working with the Kube scheduler. So if you want to correlate this whole discussion, in this picture, who's the scheduler which assigned the work after receiving the instruction from memory? Any idea?
mouth that tells
Mouth, yes. So here, see, API server, this mouth, it keep monitoring API server. Here it's ear, but it's API server just for the depiction. And API server get request from where? This place, memory. And memory take and who's updating, like who should be created or not. I is update to API server again update and check this. So this the whole things work together and become a master, aka control plane. Okay, fourth thing. So scheduler watches the API server for new pods and assign the work to the node. Again, please understand, assign, not doing. There's a difference. And what is the name of this component? Scheduler. So guys, ultimately you have a four important component in master, which is making master as a control plane for entire cluster, which can manage one node cluster or 2000 node cluster because of these four component in master. So see here how it is been done. API server for receiving, controller for monitoring, cluster store for storing, scheduler for scheduling. Everything is talking to API server. Look at the arrow. So API server is a front end for control plane. Makes sense, guys? This is called master component. Makes sense, guys?
Yes.
Okay. So now, guys, in short, you need this information. Okay. So API server is central, always located at central. It is a simple RESTful APIs, and API server always update to etcd database cluster store. Now cluster store is a persistent state. That means it store the persistent state, means permanent, whatever the state of cluster. It's stored in the key and values format powered by etcd. etcd is a key and value based database. It's a distributed, watchable and stuff like that. Scheduler, which watches the API server and schedule the pod. Yes, schedule the pod. I don't know what is a pod, but I got to know scheduler schedule the pod. Okay, and it has some resources constraints as well. Controller manager runs in the loop. Controller runs in the loop. It helps you to manage the life cycle and function of the desired state. Watch and update API server and replica set. What is the replica set? I'll come back to it. So this is a summary of master aka control plane components. Are we okay with this? Can we move on? Any questions? Any doubts? So guys, this is a little bit elaborated form of architecture. Look at this. So now one more things got added here. Look at it very carefully. You have a master, 4 component. Scheduler, you see that arrow is going and hitting to the node. But you know, it's just for the depiction purpose. Scheduler work through API server only, because everything, understand that, everything process through API server. So do not think API server is one place. API server has hundreds of functionality, but it passes through API server. So scheduler assign the work to the node. Node has a pod has a container. But the question is, who's sending the request to the API server? Remember, we had a deployment package. So the deployment package, it can be in JSON or YAML. Okay. The one which you see, that last one, that is called a workstation. Please remember, worker and workstation. When you say worker, it's a node. Workstation, it's your laptop from where you send the command to API server. So in your laptop, aka workstation, what is installed? Any idea? What is installed? kubectl.
CLI.
No, kubectl. There's the image, no? Look at it. So in your laptop, kubectl, using kubectl, we will prepare the JSON, send it to the API server. API server will store in the cluster store. Controller will keep updating API server about the actual state of the cluster, and based on that, if it is mismatched, API server will send the instruction to the scheduler. Scheduler will schedule the node, and mismatch desired versus actual has happened. So are you able to understand this picture? Are you able to understand this picture?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So guys, now we need to understand third component of Kubernetes, and that is called minions. Second component is workstation. I'll discuss more about it little later. Rather, I'll do it rather than talking. But minions need to be understood well. Guys, minions, aka nodes, aka the Kubernetes worker, whatever you want to call it. So guys, have you watched this movie called Minions? Anyone? Have you watched this movie called Minion? If you don't remember, let me show you the image. So this is the Minions. Image. Have you watched this movie? No? Okay. None of you? Maybe this while working with the home, you can watch this movie. Very good movie actually. So let me tell you the story, okay, of Minion. Minion is a kind of species who's very sad, without a master. Think about it. Without a master, they are very sad. So one fine day they get up. Understand that? Get up. Each word, there's some specifications are there. So please notice that. Minions gets up, becomes sad. Minions gets up and becomes sad. So once the minion gets up, becomes sad. Why? Because they do not have a master. So they travel the whole universe to find out the master. Okay, so they travel. So there's a two words. Minions gets up, travel to find out the master. Once they found out the master, look at this here. Hear me out clearly. Once they find out the master, minions request, master, you become my master. I want to become your slave. Master can say yes or no. The moment master say yes, minions will become a slave of the master. And then minions get very happy. Minions think they got the objective of life. The moment say master says yes, you are my minions, means you are my slave, then minions keep annoying the master. Understand that. Minions keep annoying the master. For what? Saying, master, I am healthy, I am available, I am fit, give me the work, give me the work, I want the more work, I can do anything for you, I have this, I have that, whatever. So each minions bug the master. But the problem here is master will give the work only and only when the master has the work, correct now? So if the master has a work, then it will assign. Minions do the work, respond back to the master saying, the master, I have completed my work, give me more work. Okay. In the movie there is some some little bit of different scene is there where accidentally they kill the master. Accidentally they kill the master. Again they become sad. Again they try to find out the master. So this is all movies. I think 2 series has happened. So please watch this. So here again I am repeating one more time. Minion gets up, look for the master, request a master to become a slave. Master approves it. The moment master approves it, minions keep bugging for the work. Master give the work only and only if they have it. If the master give the work to the minion, minion do that blindly. If master says suicide, minions will do suicide. Anything. So masters give the work to the minions, minion do that and report back to the master saying that work is completed. So guys, did you understand this flow?
Yes.
Okay. Something similar we have in the worker behavior also. I will match this story, whatever I said, during the discussion of the worker. So hope you get it. You can correlate some. So guys, yes, we call it nodes, aka minions, aka Kubernetes worker. What is this? So guys, worker have a 3 component. Understand that. 3 component. First component is kubelet. Yes. So I was telling you the story, right? Minion story. This is a kubelet. Who is the minion actually? Kubelet is the minion. Kubelet is your minion. Please remember this species. There's a difference. Even I used to get lots of confusion between kubelet and kubectl. Don't get confused. kubectl is in your workstation, in your laptop, whereas kubelet is in your node, aka worker. So minions gets up is equal to kubelet you run. Minion look for the master is equal to kubelet read the one configuration file, and that configuration file has a master address. When I say master, any idea what address it could have? Any idea? Guys, any idea?
It is a API server.
Yeah, API server. By the way, let me tell you guys, we have a test also. Every day we have a surprise test. So whatever we are covering, you have to score it well. Okay. And test score is very important for all of us, including myself. Okay. So I want you to score well. In fact, you should target for scoring well. Okay. So kubelet, which is a main Kubernetes agent. Okay, so I was correlating the movie, right? Yeah, so minion gets up, kubelet, you run it. Minions look for the master, kubelet look for the configuration file. Minions request the master to become a slave, kubelet request to the master, API server, to become a slave, to become a node, to become a worker. Masters approve it. Yes, master approves it. So once the master approves it, minions become a slave. So once the API server approves it, they basically share the certificate approval or approval through certificate, and they approve it. Once you become a minion, then you keep bugging your master. Keep watching the API server. See, kubelet keep watching. Third point. Okay, keep watching the API server. Once API server will, master give the any instruction, any work, then minions will do that. So guys, in the master, which component can assign a work to the worker? Any idea? I forgot. In the master, which component can assign the work to the master? Scheduler. Yes.
Scheduler.
Yeah, you got it. So scheduler always schedule the work, but done by kubelet, minions. So minion, what work? Basically creating a pod or destroying a pod. Simple. Either you create a pod, edit the pod, CRUD operation. You know the CRUD operation. Create, read, edit, and delete. That's all. So scheduler will assign, initiate a pod. Kubelet initiate a pod. Kubelet is a worker. And again, minions report back to the master saying that master, I have completed my work. Same way, kubelet report back to the master API server saying that boss, I have completed my work. Give me more work because I'll keep watching you.
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan and grow your skills immensely.
What is API server? And kubelet runs on the each node on the port default port which is called 10255. So guys, did you understand the kubelet and their behaviors? You have to run it. First you have to install the kubelet, you have to run it, you have to register with the node of the clusters, and then it will start working. Did you understand that?
Yeah, but like the last line that exposes endpoint on 10255, so how it should be 10255?
See, if you want the automation, don't want too much because it's, remember, abstraction is one of the feature. So why you want to change the port? That's the question. You see, any tools you can change the port. That's not a problem. But usually you won't do that. So you can change the port, not only kubelet, any tools available which is running on the port, you can change the port. But usually it runs on 10255. We don't change the port. From last 5 years, I don't remember one scenarios where I could change the port. Because this port is not used by any other application. They follow the international guidelines
Okay,
for
so there is a
allocating. Yeah. So each node
okay, so there will be multiple nodes. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, please go
So
ahead.
in each node, the kubelet will be R to 10255.
Yes. Yeah. That's the default entry.
Okay.
So guys, did you understand kubelet? Can we move on? Now guys, next component is container engine. And you know container engine, I don't think so I should tell you because you know that, right? Container engine like a Docker, Rocket. So here the beauty of the Kubernetes is, you can have another container engine also. If you don't like a Docker, you can have a Rocket also. So many container engines are available nowadays. Many container engines, so it can be any. But right now, Docker is a default container engine, and which you know also. You can also try Podman. I love it. From last 1 year, I'm trying. I'm liking it. Podman is also good. So yeah, container engine, which will do the creating a container. So see here, kubelet initiate a pod. Remember, node has a pod has a container. So here how it happens, kubelet initiate a pod. Look at this here, initiate a pod, and container is filled by Docker engine, container engine. Okay, so this is the container engine. I'll just move on because you have spent good amount of time with the Docker. Can I? Now, third
It will be better if you can give some points on that as well.
Container engine, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, yeah. Thanks. Please go ahead. Yeah. Please explain a little bit about this one, container engine as well.
Okay, so container engine is basically a Docker. A Docker which create a container. So first you can pull the images, can start the container, stop the container. So this is the something which is Docker. Now, if you really want to know Docker, do you know Docker? First question is, do you know Docker? So guys, can you please tell me in the chat box?
Yeah, having some idea like.
Okay, so I just need to know for my information so I can cover the topics accordingly. How many of you have not worked with the Docker? Can you put it in the chat window? So only those who have not worked. Those who have worked, you can skip it. So I think one person. Anyone else? One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. Okay guys, 7. No. This is not good. This is not good. So I was expecting 1 or 2% maybe, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out of 15 people, 10 people have a very less knowledge on Docker. So this is not good. This is not good because it's like this. I'll tell you one thing. If you don't know how to ride a bicycle, then how you will set up a factory of bicycle manufacturing? Simple way. How do you assemble the bicycle? Simple. How do you become a mechanic of bicycle at the large scale? So it is not good. Now I'll give you some videos of mine, okay, which you have to watch it post 4:30 p.m. IST after this training, and you can learn the Docker. It learns 2 long videos, but again understand that it's important skills, important knowledge which we have to gain it. Now see, this is the 2-part Docker tutorial, part 1 and part 2. This you can also see Docker Advanced is also there, 2-part. So watch this one, and here 3 hours of videos are there. So take one of the series. You have a multiple series. Take one of the series and complete that. Okay, so 7-8 videos are there here, and please watch it. These all videos is you have in YouTube also. So watch it, because if you do not understand Docker, you will not be able to do that good in Kubernetes for sure. So it's important for all of you. In fact, I shared these videos before this training itself through L&D team. So it's important. So after 4:30, at least you sit 2 hours each day and get comfortable. Okay. So let's move on, guys. Okay. So now next component, the third component which I'm going to discuss, and I think I discussed about it. So I think you don't know the Docker networking also in that case, but here I think I discussed. Remember, these containers you cannot access through the load balancer. Why? Because you can proxy, you can create a port forwarding at only one port, but actually load balancer required the different IP address, same port. That is a problem. So here what has been done in Kubernetes, the entire networking has been rewritten. Yes, but entire networking software which was there with the Docker, they are not using with the Docker, but they have rewritten this entire things. So what exactly requirement was for the Kubernetes networking? Here you look at this here. It's very important requirement. You have to by heart these statements. All ports can communicate with each other on all nodes. No, pod, what is a pod? We don't know. But one thing I know that for sure is pod has container. Thus, pod is there in the nodes. So here what it's saying, we are saying all pods can communicate with each other on all nodes. That's the first requirement of networking in Kubernetes. Second requirement is all nodes can communicate with all ports and without a NAT. That way load balancing will work. So these are the requirement. So who is fulfilling this requirement? Kubeproxy. So with the help of kubeproxy, what is happening, which is the third component of each worker, kubeproxy uses inbuilt drivers. So many drivers are available. I'll talk about in the networking section. Kubeproxy is a networking services in Kubernetes, and kubeproxy assign IP address. Yes. Here container do not get IP address. Understand that. Here containers do not get IP address. Here in kubeproxy assign IP address to all the pod. That means each pod get a IP address by whom kubeproxy. Thus, all containers in a pod share a single IP address. And because of this, load balancer works across the pod in a service. Okay. So kubeproxy is one of the component which is a networking solution for all of your pods. So pods get IP address. Inside the pod, you have one or multiple containers. All containers can access the same IP address to access and stuff like that. So did you understand that, guys? This is a kubeproxy, which is the solution which has been written by Kubernetes to solve that problem. And the problem was these three problems. All pods can communicate with each other on all nodes. All nodes can communicate with each other on all the ports and no NAT. Did you understand that? Guys, did you understand that?
Yes.
So this is the three component of Kubernetes agent, a Kubernetes worker, kubelet, the main Kubernetes agent, container engine, Docker or RKT, kubeproxy. So guys, this is the way we communicate. Look at this image very carefully. Kubelet keep talking to API server. kubeproxy also keep talking to API server for managing the IP addresses. So in the master you have a cluster store also, scheduler, controller, manager. In the node you have a kubelet, kubeproxy and container runtime, which is Docker. Third component is Docker. So let's read about the nodes. On all nodes you have a kubelet. Kubelet is a monitoring API server for changes, responsible for pod lifecycle, reports node and pod states, and some check on the pod files. Also we call it liveness and procs. kubeproxy basically a network proxy IP table, implement services, routing traffic to pods, helps you to load balance. Container runtime is like a Docker, create a containers, run the containers and stuff like that. There are few more components are there, DNS, ingress, dashboard, which I am not talking about right now. So it's important. So how overall it works? So it's all about the declarative model and desired state. Okay, it's all about declarative model and desired state. So guys, you got to know master 4 component. You got to know worker 3 component. That's good. Master 1 component, worker 3 component. But now we need to know the last thing, and that is, let me show you first. Workstation. In the workstation you have a kubectl. But one important thing which you do in the workstation in your laptop, and that is writing a JSON file or YAML file. Okay. So I am talking about this part also. This part also. So let's understand this. So this is a declarative model versus desired state. So guys, see, I said initially only Kubernetes server is creating abstraction. Abstraction means you don't need to know everything, complexity of the Kubernetes cluster, but it will be done by Kubernetes rest of the things. Just you need to tell what you want. Rest of the things will be done by Kubernetes. So what is a declarative model? So guys, nowadays we do not write a program. Yes, that's true. Nowadays we do not write a program. So earlier, if you remember, we had a compiled language, correct? After that we got interpreted language, and after that we got a declarative language. So guys, can you give me some example of compiled based language? Which are those? Any example of compiled language?
C++, Java.
Yeah, C, C++,
C++,
Java.
Java.
Yeah. And can you give me, after that we got what is that? I see, I missed the word. Interpreted language. So what is this? Can you give me some example? Python, Perl, right? PHP, right? So right. So these are the interpreted language. So if you have an interpreted language, why we have so much of languages changing? So actually what was happening, if you write a software in Java, it will take 1 month. I'm just giving you one simple way to distinguish, though you can refer lots of technical differences. But if you write software in Python or PHP or something like that, it will take, let's say Java 60 days, so here it 30 days. But nowadays we don't even write a program. Why? Because we got the internet. We share the functionality and program through internet with each other. So nowadays we got a declarative language. That means in a declarative language, we don't need to write a program. What we do, we just need to express, you want to declare what you want. Yes, that's true. You want to declare what you want, and rest of the things the tool will do that for you. Now tool, we are not calling language here. That's the difference here. Why tool we are calling? So basically guys, we are in a world of DSL domain. That means for each and every requirement, there is one DSL has been written. DSL means domain specific language. Okay, that means if you want to do configuration management, we have Ansible. If you want to do infrastructure coding, you have Terraform, you have XML, YAML, JSON, Groovy, this, that, so many declarative languages there. But these declarative language only solve one problem. So what here I am trying to say is, we are in the world of declarative model. That means you don't need to write a program in Kubernetes. If you know what you want, declare it. If you know what you want, that's called desire. Okay, that's called desire. I want what? I want pod. Okay, so that's your desire. Now if you want the pod has a container which you know well. If you want to desire for pod, declaring that some declarative language. Now which are the declarative language we have? So earlier we had XML, now we have YAML and JSON. Okay, so in Kubernetes we use YAML and JSON both. But one thing I'm curious, I can write in YAML or JSON in my laptop a desire of having pod, but API server accept this in JSON format or YAML format. Anyone remember that? Anyone? Yeah.
JSON.
Yes, API server only accept the JSON format. So please remember that, guys. It's very important for all of us. Okay. So API server accept the JSON. Whether you write in YAML or JSON, but converging is very simple, so not taking time. So good. So we got the declarative model. So first thing, you need to know what is a desire, what do you want. And if you know what you want, declare it in what? YAML. And send it to kubectl. Remember kubectl workstation. To where? To API server. And forget it. Forget about this. Everything will be done. I said, right? In Kubernetes, you just need to know what you want. Rest of the things, forget about it. Okay. So guys, this is how it works. Look at this. So you write, you put your desire in YAML or JSON, put it in a manifest file, send to API server. What do you want? You want 3 pod of what? Nginx image. Inside a pod you have a container come from the image, you know that very well. So 3 pod of Nginx. You got this. How you got it? Don't worry about that. But you have to worry about it. How you got it, you know that. Controller, scheduler, etcd, API server, how it worked to get you the pod, you know that. But from the end user perspective, you don't need to know. You got the C pod. Each pod is running in one node. Suddenly one node got disappeared. Maybe some reason. CPU issues, RAM issues, storage issues, network issues. It can be anything. So here, if the one pod got disappeared, desire was 3, actual is 2. Mismatch. So tell me what will happen. Any idea what will happen? Any idea what will happen?
This always controller will check for the status. If
Mhm.
any particular field will happen, then automatically the scheduler will schedule one more part to create.
Wonderful, yes. So controller will always check number of pod. Immediately it get reduced. Okay, what will happen? Immediately inform to the API server. API server will check in a database, etc store, cluster store. It will check, okay, desire was 3, but controller is reporting 2. That means one need to be scheduled. So immediately it will pass the request to the scheduler, which is watching the API server. And scheduler will assign any available node, NTF rule applies, and then third pod got created. Desire was 3, actual was 3, match, and everyone is happy. Did you understand that how Kubernetes do the magic? Remember the cattle business? Remember the cattle business? Guys?
Yeah, got it.
Wonderful. So guys, now the last point is, what do you want? Any idea what you want? What do you want? So guys, the whole session, if you understand this, you understand how master works, how worker works. The only thing which you need to learn remaining all 5 days is what do you want? What do you want? You want the pod, or you want the controllers, or you want the services, or you want the storage. These are just a few components. It's not exhaustive list. There's so many. So actually you need to spend time only to find out what do you want, because ultimately you put it in YAML and Kubernetes will give it to you. Okay, so this is your work which is in Kubernetes. So first component which I've been talking about is pod. So can we start this now? What do you want? Part. So architecture is over. Any doubts on architecture side? Any doubts on architecture side?
One question on proxy. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
No, you said pod assigns IP addresses. So like, do we have an DHCP running separately, or does we configure it all?
No. So pod kubeproxy is acting like a kind of bridge, but getting the specific CIDR from the API server. And kubeproxy, because it's acting like a bridge, it assigns the network to the pod, not a container. Okay, so that is how it happens. Now DHCP is not required to have Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You have mentioned that all node communicate to all pods. So which means like between nodes or only single node contains pods. So the node will talk to pods.
No. Here it's like this. See, think logically. Here, load balancer is outside. I'll put it in simple way actually. Let me put it up one more image. Probably it will give you right perspective. See, this is you, and you hit to one of the website which is called devopsschool.com in your browser. This is your laptop.
Okay.
You hit, it goes to DNS server through ISP. Correct now? Now you know that www.devopsschool.com, but system, your internet or network don't know. Network only understand the IP address. So DNS got IP address resolved. DNS is for IP address. Now this IP address you travel. Now do you think this is a IP address which is having the software hosted? No. This is called load balancer. Okay. You hit to the load balancer. But when you hit, do you think your software is only load balancing one? No. Typically you have one pool of services where Apache is running, Apache container. Okay, Apache is running. So many Apache. But it travel because load balancer balanced to this one. Apache need to talk to the web server, app server. So here also you need a load balancer, internal load balancer. So here Tomcat. From here it traveled to this Tomcat. Tomcat need a database, and then you get connected to database. Database again you have a different architecture. I'm not complicating. So did you understand this flow?
Yeah, got it.
Now answering to your first question, let me draw a picture now. What happens? Here this is a node 1, node 2, node 3. Now this is your applications running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is your database running. I'm changing the color. Database. Now here when you see load balancer will see here, look at this image. Load balancer will only Apache, right? Correct now? So this. So now here it's like this. Look at this here. This load balancer, I will hit here this load balancer. This load balancing will balance to the one of the pod, right? So for that we need a one networking layer on top of that. So that's a queue proxy. But this pod is need to connect to the one of the database. So that way also. So here that is what I am saying. One pod can connect to the another pod within the same node or across the node. That's the first requirement. Second thing is one node can connect to the another pod on the other node also. That was the second requirement. Third thing was no NAT is allowed. Now you understand this?
Like intercommunicate. So
Yeah.
pod can talk to pods, and again pod can talk to another pod.
Yes.
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan and grow your skills immensely.
So guys, ultimately you have to spend time on the what is pod. I mean, what is desired. These are the things you have to learn. So we are going to spend a lot of time only on this stuff. So can we start now pod? Any questions? Any further questions which you have? Any further question? No. So guys, let's get started with the pod. So here in this picture you have a hypervisor, you have a Docker, and you have a Kubernetes. So guys, when you look at the hypervisor like a VMware and all, so they do manage what? What they manage? What they manage? Hypervisor. You've been working with the VM. Yeah. So hypervisor manages the VM. So Docker manages what? Containers. So same way guys, the same logic. Hypervisor can manage only VM. Hypervisor cannot manage a container. Whereas Docker can manage only container. Docker cannot manage a VM. So same way guys, Kubernetes cannot manage container. For managing the container, Docker is there. So Kubernetes cannot manage the container. Kubernetes can manage the pod. So whenever you are talking about the Kubernetes, please understand Kubernetes can manage the pod. And then what Kubernetes has done it, because the pod has a containers, so Kubernetes has outsourced that work of management to the Docker. That's the reason you see every node you have one kubelet, one Docker engine, and one kubeproxy. So same line. Now guys, tell me one thing. In the VM, when the VM is running, okay, probably you have not covered, I have not covered the Docker, so you don't know this assignment. Do you know one thing? When the virtual machine is running, any idea? As long as virtual machine is running, what is the criteria of virtual machine is running? Anyone guys?
Criteria means?
Okay, so I'll tell you, probably you'll get confused with this question. Yeah, I knew that. So guys, virtual machine is running as long as the PID1 is running. PID1 is running, virtual machine is running. Do you know when the container is running? Have you seen the PID1 inside a container?
No.
PID1 concept? In a container you might have seen PID1 also.
What is PID1?
PID1 process ID. System process ID. Okay. When you write a ps-eaf command, you will get the process table, right?
That's fine. That's fine. We understood that it's a process ID, but what do you want to say about this PID1 or 0, whatever, with this VM account?
I'll put it in this way. Please hard code this statement for the future reference. Okay? Okay? Your VM is running. Let me put it in this way. Physical machine is running. Physical server is running. VM is running. Container is running. Okay. So, you know, physical machine, my laptop is running because of PID1 is running. In Linux I'm talking about, okay? Not in Windows. In Windows I think it's a PID4. So your physical machine is running because of PID1 is running. Let me show you here. I'm showing in the Windows, Linux I'll show you during the demo. See here. This is the system. If I kill this, my system will get shut down. Okay. And everything comes from the 0. That's the one P map, process map. So nothing, everything is come from nothing, that's called 0. Okay. So your physical machine is running, I'm talking about the Linux.
Is it the supervisor you are talking about?
No, not supervisor. No. Supervisor is just a way to run in a service. Any process to run in a service, not supervisor. No, I'm not talking about supervisor. I'm talking about the. Okay, probably you'll understand this logic what I'm trying to say in one of my videos. Just follow the Docker videos. Okay, PMAP concept, process map concept. Each container, let me show you here. Container, Linux kernel. PID NS. So it's very important all of you to know that Docker. Okay, it's very important because you will love this topic, Kubernetes, if you are good in Docker. See here, kernel has this is a PID I am talking about. PID. This is mount. This is for CPU and RAM. This is for users. This is for network. These are all required in the container. What is container? You need to know. That's the problem. So if you know the container, then you will have some visibility over there. But anyways, I'll not deviate from my topic. So stick to my topic. Physical service is running because of PID1 is running. VMs is also running because of the PID1 is running. Guys, container is also running PID1. In a simple way, if I tell you PID1 is not running, your system is shut down, container is exited, VM is stopped. Simple. Now guys, second statement. Here, system D is your PID1. Physical machine. Linux I'm talking about, okay? Here you have a system. In Windows you have a system. See here. System. But in Linux you have a system D. Okay? Please mind it. Okay? So in VM you have a system D. But in a container D, in a container what do you have? PID1. Do you know? Anything. It can be anything, guys. So in the physical machine you have a system D. VM you can have a system D. And here in container it is anything. PID. I don't know how many of you have noticed. Some container of Nginx you get Nginx. Some container shell scripting. Sub container you get bin bash. Some container you get some Tomcat. Some container you get MySQL D. Have you noticed this one or not? Perl, Python, Java. It can be anything. Guys?
So basically you mean to say that, hello?
Yeah.
Basically you mean to say that what is the process which makes that particular VM or container to keep alive?
Correct. 100% correct. 100% correct. Sir. Make sense? Yeah. So in a container you have anything. But actually I'm not talking about the container. I'm talking about pod, guys. That's my topic. So I wanted to correlate so you have a right things in your memory. So guys, pod is running. Think about the relationship. Pod is running not because of the PID1. Pod is running because of container is running. Yes. Container is running. And why container is running, you know that now. So if your pod is getting exited, getting destroyed, then you should know your container is not running. Now why container is not running? You have to check it out. Some of my videos and do some self-studies. You'll understand it. So pod is running as long as the container is running. And here, how the container is running, you know that. I just did discuss about it. Okay. So here what I was trying to tell you is, guys, hypervisor manages VM. Docker manages containers. So Kubernetes manages the pod. here VM is running because of PID1, container is running because of PID1, pod is running because of container is running. Make sense? Now last statement I'm making it, guys. Have you come across any time when
Pod and hello.
yeah, please tell me. Hello? Yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah, pod and container is not one-to-one mapping, right? Oh yeah, inside pod we have multiple containers.
Very good question. Very good question. So I would say simple, one addition. Very good question. I was not complicating. All container is running, then pod is running. If one of the container is not running, that means pod is not healthy. Simple. Pod is for the one work. If the one of the pod is not running, all container is not running, then pod is not running. Let's say if you have two container, one container is running, one container is not running, then pod is not healthy. It's unhealthy. That means not good. Make sense? Is that okay, guys?
Yes.
Now guys, next scenario also I'll tell you. So in the VMware, let's talk about the VMware because you've been using from last 15 plus years. Have you come across any time hypervisor companies like a VMware, VirtualBox, Hyper-V, Zen, KVM and all, they said like, no, we will not support this operating system ISO, that operating system ISO. Have you come across? Have you come across? No. Simple, you know. So guys, the hypervisor, the roles and responsibility to manage the state of the VM. That's all. Manage the state of the VMs, and inside the VM you have operating system. So guys, similar way, you have so many Docker contain images. You see that you go to the hub.docker.com, and you see here, I'll just log out. Guys, please read this. 1,000 plus images are there in this place. 1 lakh plus, 100,000 plus. So actually, all the images you can create a container with. All the images. So something similar concept here I am trying to tell you. VMs manages the state of the VM, whereas container manages the state of the container. Docker. So Kubernetes manages the state of pod. So same rule applies on the Kubernetes also. Inside a pod you can run any container. Kubernetes also not saying you cannot run this image or that image of Docker. So now let me conclude this topic. VMs manages VM, hypervisor manages VM, Docker manages container, so Kubernetes manages a pod. VM is running because of PID1 running, container is running because the PID1 is running, pod is running because of container is running. VM never stated saying that you cannot run this operating system images. Same way Docker never said you cannot run this Docker images. And so the Kubernetes has never said you can run only these images of Docker. You can run any images inside a pod. Rule applies. So basically what is a pod, guys? Pod is an atomic unit of scheduling in the Kubernetes. So when you talk about the Kubernetes, you always talk about not a container, always pod. Hard code this statement. Okay, let's move on. So guys, look at my screen. Here you have a multiple pod and you have a different containers. Some pod have a container one, some pod you have a multiple container. Okay, now look at this here. All the network namespaces get allocated to the pod, not container. That's a different architecture here. What is a network namespaces? Kernel namespaces. So I think I was talking about this one. Where is that? Here. Okay. So in the case of Docker, all the namespaces get attached to the container, but in the Kubernetes, all the namespaces get attached to the pod. That's true. You see here, network, kernel namespaces and all get attached to the pod. So that means all the container which is running share the same network namespaces, pod environment. This one, when you have two containers in a pod, this is called tight coupling. When you have one containers in the pod, it is called loose coupling. Each container, one container to another container, they talk to the network. Look at this. This is right. This is wrong. You tell me. Think first, and you tell me why this is right and why this is wrong. Think and let me know why this is right and why this is wrong.
Because the services are the same and grouping them together in a single pod doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, can you give me a little bit more explanation? Yeah, I understand that you have understood, but you have to use the right.
Okay, so this nginx service in the right hand side, like they are the n replications of the same container in a single pod.
Yeah, so here what I'm trying to say here, think about it. Why we are spending a lot of time to learning containers? Think about it. Kubernetes. Is it a hot technology or something else? So we are trying to learn containers technology and Kubernetes and all because of only one reason. You want to reduce the running cost and reduce the software deployment time for the applications. Simple. That's the two reasons for it. Reduction in cost, saving and time. Okay, that's all. For that reason only we are learning. Now if you see here I have been saying pod get IP address. So here you are running in one pod 5 nginx, but load balancing will be only one, right? One of each. So why you are running 4 extra nginx, wasting your resources? Okay, so that's one of the reasons. So in what I am trying to say in another way around, you should always run multiple containers inside a pod. Okay, not changing the port 80, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 88, but different kind of image you should run, different kind of container you should run. So that makes sense. But if you run the same images, same container, so many times, load balancing will be only one, right? Not everything. Make sense, guys?
Yes.
Okay. So now let's move on, guys. See, when you have two containers in a pod, first container we call it main container. Second container we call it sidecar container. Please remember this. First container, main container. Second container, sidecar container. Okay. Sidecar container and main container and all the other containers share the same network namespaces of the pod environment. Pods can scale. So from one pod you can become a multiple pod. So the question is, what is the life cycle of the pod? By the way, anyone would like to tell me life cycle of the container before pod? Life cycle of container. Life cycle of container.
As long as the service is running.
No, sir. Life cycle. Life cycle. Life cycle means okay. It's like
power on,
something like that. So you have a create command. Remember, you guys have tried create, start, stop, run, kill, pause, unpause. These are the life cycle commands, right? Working with the container, basics command. So something similar, we have a pod also. Pod has a life cycle. So pod has these are the life cycles. See, first you create a pod, it will go into the pending state. Then immediately if the container, see the container, look at the container first. Container is gray, so it's in pending. Container is running, so it's got running. Pod is running. The container got red, that means it either succeeded or failed, exited. So pod got succeeded and failed also. Okay, so it's important. Pod is running as long as container is running. Okay. So guys, now the question is, how can you access the pod if you are running two containers? So you can access this. The sidecar container is running with the 5000 port. One main container is running with the 80 port. So you can access through the network of the pod 80 and 5000. You can run. This simple application is like you use in the laptop or VMs. Same way. Okay. So here pods, all the network namespaces and all get assigned. I'm not discussing in detail because I think you guys have to go through Docker first before that. Okay, inter-pod communication. So how does each pod communicate with each other on the pod network? Understand that on the pod network, inter-pod communication, pod network. So this is how they communicate with each other. Now, if you want to talk to, if you are a two container inside a pod and if you want to talk to each other, then they can talk to each other through localhost, but from outside IP address of the pod. Understand that same way as we do in the laptop and VMs. So guys, what is a pod? So let's conclude this. So what is a pod? So pod has one or more containers. It has your applications or services. It is the most basic unit of work in Kubernetes. Unit of scheduling also. Pods are ephemeral. Yeah, that's, please hard code your mind. Pods are ephemeral. That means same pod you cannot redeploy again. You can get a replacement pod, but with the same qualities. But same pod you cannot get it. Please hard code this statement. Atomicity, they are there or not there. That means pod is there, then they're there. If it is not there, you cannot get back. Simple. Same pod. Pod continuum. Kubernetes job is to keeping your pods running. How the pod is running, container is running. Understand that. More specifically, keeping your desired states, health and liveness. That's the job of the Kubernetes. So guys, this is the pod. Did you understand this? What is a pod? Now, did you understand that pod, guys? So guys, when you want the pod, see here, I have been telling you, you have to ask API server. Where is API server diagram? So understand that this is a API server, okay, like that. This is the API server. It's a one endpoint for you, but it has a multiple API object, hundreds of which, okay. So when you want the pod to be created, you write a YAML file. Simple. Think about it. YAML file. And here you specify two things. Kind, you want what? Pod. What is the version of the pod? That particular version of the software. V1 or whatever it is. Send this to the API server. API server will query this and store in the etcd. And etcd will create scheduler and controller. You know all this thing. You create a one pod in the node. That is how it works. Very simple. So when you want to deploy the pod, see here, look at this. In the YAML file you write API version, kind, and in metadata you have much more details. Okay. So you send this to the API server. How it works, we have explained it to you. And you get the pod. So guys, if you get a one pod, kind is equal to pod. But what about if you want to get more pod? What about if you get a more pod? Because if you want one pod, because there is no looping, right? See that, understand that. This is a declarative language. You cannot say for is equal to 1 for 1 I is equal to 1 lesser than 30, create a pod. You cannot do that. You don't have a lot this looping and stuff like that. Are you getting points? It's not a programming language, it's a declarative language. Guys? Yeah? So if you have a one pod, you specify in the YAML kind is equal to pod. But if you want, let's say 20 pod or 2000 pod, then what you need? Then guys, there is a different API object we have. And for that we have a replication controller. So understand that if you want the one pod, pod. If you want 20 pod, replication controller. Make sense?
Yes.
But guys, you know one thing, replication controller got deprecated. So you must be wondering, then how do I get a more pod? Because I want the more pod and pod is not giving the pod. More than one pod. I can't run 200 times that pod like that. I have no patience. I want the 200 pod in 1 second. So replication controller is deprecated. Deprecated means not removed. It's still working, but something else has come with a good advanced feature. There's one more API we need to learn, deployment. And deployment is the one which is the most important API object in Kubernetes to deploy a pod. Deployment has many features. It can get you the so many pods plus rollback functionality, versioning functionality, and many more things. During the demo, I'll talk about it. Okay, so by now, 3 objects you have learned without time wasted. You want the one pod, API object is pod. If you want the multiple pod, replication controller. If you have the multiple pod plus deployment, rollback and rollout feature, deployment. Guys, did you understand this?
Yes.
Okay. So now we will revisit all of our discussion, because next topic is service, which is for the client stuff. I'll not cover everything in one go only, so you get lost. So till here only it's okay. After that we'll move on to the demo, and after that slowly I will increase the complexity, so that way you will be in line with all of us. Okay. So now we have 15 minutes and 15 minutes. So you may ask any questions, any kind of questions. So instead of having the lunch hour 1 o'clock, this time I'm thinking 12 o'clock only, or 12:30 only. So that way, will that be okay for everyone? Because I don't want any break after that once I start the demo. So it's not like I should give you 30 minutes of demo and after that we get a break of 1 hour, so you lost the flow.
Please enroll our general membership for $399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.